you a woman in medicine feeling overwhelmed and disconnected from the personal fulfillment that you desire? You're in the right place. Join Doctors Joanne and Aaron as they rewrite the rules for women in medicine. Let's begin.
I am really excited because for our episode, we have one of my favorite people as our guest, Dr. Laura Guadiana Sanchez. And she is a family medicine and obesity medicine specialist. And my heart is beating so fast. I've known Laura for a while and I cannot wait to go dive in. And actually, I'm going to go straight with a question, Laura. Tell us, what are some of the challenges you've overcome as a woman in medicine?
Okay. Thank you so much for having me on today. Thank you. I'm really excited to be here too. So challenges as a woman in medicine. Well, I think for me, it's been about finding balance as a woman. Like, you're a doctor, but you also are a mom, you're also a daughter, and finding that balance has been, a pretty big challenge for me, that I feel it's been a process, right? It's like been this journey of like finding I can be a really good doctor, I can be an awesome mom, I can be an awesome wife, and how you manage that has been really important. That's been like my focus in the last couple of years of like managing that and trying to be like the best everything that I can be.
And Laura, I have an unfair advantage because I know you, and I would love for you to also talk about your story in terms of being Hispanic as well and challenges that come from there.
Yeah, so I'm originally from California, and my parents are immigrants from Mexico, and so I was, first generation. I born and raised in Los Angeles, and I had this, dream of being a doctor, which takes a lot of work and a lot of effort, and it's hard. You don't have like the support. People don't know what you're going through. It was a difficult path, and I felt like I had a lot of pressure, right? Like I had a lot of pressure of being this. I was always the studious one. Like I felt like I had to succeed, and it means a lot to me. Like I'm very proud of where I come from and how far I've come. But I think with that, there's a lot of guilt. Like I feel like I can't have hobbies. I can't do this because I have to like focus on my work and I have to focus on always being the best and always keeping it together. So that definitely has been a challenge, but I feel very proud. I feel proud of like what my journey has been. And also having like my daughters and showing them like, you can grow up and be whatever you want. And, you can be a doctor as well. And, there's just a lot of pressure there. And then also the pressure of being like the perfect mom, there's always that pressure, and showing them like you have to be the perfect daughter and you have to be the perfect doctor and the perfect mom. That's like always kind of been there with me because I feel like, and part of that maybe from my upbringing, right? Like I had that pressure of like wanting to succeed. And I feel like there is a part that has pushed me. I mean, I came like to where I am now because of that pressure a little bit, but sometimes it can be really draining,
I love that you're sharing that drain, because we oftentimes talk about the energy it takes. And I don't know you well yet, but I can't wait to get to know you more, Laura, because what an inspiring story. And I don't have the statistics memorized, but I remember meeting with another Hispanic female doctor in Oregon where I'm at, and she shared the statistics. And it's a pretty tiny percentage of women and physicians that are Hispanic heritage. And do either of you guys know the numbers?
I think it's about 2%.
That's what I'm remembering too. Yeah, so we can do a double check. And so just kudos to you for overcoming those obstacles. And I wonder, I would like to hear what kind of either support or friction did your family provide for you, being first generation in the U.S. and I don't know if you had any other doctors or medical providers in your family. So
Yeah, I didn't have that, and it was hard. I had to go through the whole process on my own and kind of trying to figure that out. And this is like back in the day when you could like look everything up online. But I did have some mentors, people that I looked to when I was in college that kind of helped to at least lead me in that direction. I was pre-med, so I was part of all the clubs that were all pre-med, but when I looked to my family for support, they were very supportive in the sense that like, you need to go to school, right? Like that is your job. You should go and study, and we'll support you however we can to go to school. But other than that, they couldn't really help much more than that. And I appreciate all that they did for me, but it was difficult because I felt like I had to do it on my own. There was also a financial, obviously, limitation there. So I had to I didn't apply right out of college. I had to save up money because it's expensive to apply to medical school. So I had to save up to be able to apply and then to go to the interviews and do all of, there's a whole process. So that was difficult. And also my family kind of understood what I was going through, but they didn't really, they didn't understand why I was studying all the time, or why I couldn't go to different events, is because I had to study, or I had to, I was just, school was my priority. So, there was a balance there too of being able to do the things that you wanted to do, but you also had to study and work hard and get to where you wanted to be.
So inspiring. And I love hearing about where you've come. And I'm wondering, along your journey, what are some of the things that you've tried, maybe that have worked or not worked on this journey?
Yeah. So, along the way, trying to find balance, trying to find my voice and what my place is career wise. I looked to things like books and podcasts, and, I'd kind of felt like I was trying to find a path of what is my role here. So when I was in medical school, deciding what my path was going to be, it felt easy and natural. I wanted to be a family doctor, right? Because I wanted to be the doctor of my community. So that felt it just felt right. It felt like this was my place. And I feel like I can connect with people regardless of their background, but especially when coming from a Hispanic background and you see a patient from a Hispanic background too, and there's a different level of connection. And so I felt like family medicine, that's what I want to do. But then once I, got further in my career, I actually moved from California here to Georgia, where I'm practicing now. I felt like I was successful in the sense that, I was seeing a lot of patients and getting my work done, and, coming home and doing all the home stuff. And I looked to things like the books and the podcasts and things to feel am I doing this right? Am I able to balance all of this stuff together? Because it didn't feel like it, right? It felt like I was kind of right above water. It looked on the outside like I was successful, like I was meeting all my metrics and I was staying on top of things, but inside felt like there's something that I'm not getting here, because I'm not feeling that satisfaction anymore. In the patient room, I feel the satisfaction of helping someone and connecting with them. But then at the end of the day, after the drain of it all, I felt is this what I'm supposed to be doing? Am I really successful? And I felt like maybe I'm not finding it. Maybe I can find it in this book about habits, or this, book about mindset changes, and I'll listen to this podcast this day, and nothing was really connecting for me.
Thank you for sharing all of that and the vulnerability that comes with the story and the struggles that we've gone through. And you said a few keywords that are so relatable, of the pressure and trying to be the perfect mom and the perfect doctor, and then feeling, wait, like what's going on? Am I doing this right? So many of us struggle with some of the same questions. And also, thank you for saying out loud, because I think that that's where a lot of times we end up suffering in silence, and even to our own selves, because we have that kind of awareness of outside, I look like everything is great, and we believe it, and it's in some parts are, and we get that sense of fulfillment, and then having the clarity and the awareness and the honesty to say, but inside there's something missing. And that leads me to my next question of, what was that pivotal moment that let you feel, I need something different in my life right now?
So I actually can remember me being on the couch one early morning, like before anybody had gotten up. It was like 4:30 in the morning, and the house was actually quiet. That's probably like the only time in the house where it's actually quiet. And I'm on the couch, and I'm just kind of exhausted at being exhausted from the week. It was a weekend. And I had been looking into things like, coaching and mindset things like online. And I remember sitting on the couch at this early in the morning. It's all quiet. And I'm going through my Facebook, kind of scrolling. And I see Joanne's face. And I had been seeing it over and over, and I'd been clicking on her. And I decided to click and say to meet with her to talk more about coaching, like one-on-one coaching. And I felt like there was something inside me that said, there's something that's not right here, because I feel like I have everything. I have a beautiful home. I have beautiful children. I have a wonderful husband. I have this great job, but something is not right here. And something in me that moment said, I have to do something. I have to make a change. And I clicked to set up this meeting to talk to Joanne. And it felt really special. It felt really pivotal at that moment. And it really was. It did really change my life. I can honestly tell you, my life is totally different from that moment, with me sitting on the couch that early morning to today. So much has changed.
I just get chills hearing your answer to that, Laura, and having my own history of working with a coach and this pivotal moment and things that have changed. I would love to hear from you, from that coaching experience or inviting coaching into your life as a woman doctor, as a mom. What are the top things that have changed for you?
Well, I feel like that strive for balance is a lot different. I have changed what I've defined success to be, because I used to define it as seeing more patients and being as busy as possible and getting on this committee and saying yes to this and just doing more and more and more. I defined that as success. And I think after going through coaching, I realized that doesn't necessarily mean that's success for me. I started looking more into obesity medicine. Now, I've struggled with my weight my whole entire life. And I had started helping people just in, my primary care patients with their weight. And I started, getting more involved and getting more training on obesity medicine. And going through coaching, it kind of helped me define a little bit more what I wanted my career to look like. And that led me to obesity medicine. So before this time, I was solely family medicine. And then I decided obesity medicine is this special interest, and maybe I need to dive into that a little bit more. So that was something else that really came out of the coaching that was already in me. And it just it brought that out, that I could be, this leader, this specialist in obesity medicine. So that was a completely new thing that I had in me that whole time, but it came out. And now that's helped me to just, re-envision my path and kind of make this pivot in my career. But also even on a personal level, I feel like my relationship with my husband, my relationship with my children, that's also changed for the better. I felt like before, I was running on all cylinders like all day, and then you have to come home and it's like part two. You have to like, get dinner ready. You have to spend time with your kids. You have to spend time with your husband. And it felt like I wasn't doing anything right. Like I felt like I was barely making it from work and then barely making it at home. And so coaching kind of helped me to redefine that too, and to make that space. And it really felt like I had more valuable time with my family. That really changed too. So it wasn't only just like this career pivot, but also in my life, like my work life, what we all talk about, right? The work-life balance, that really did change as well.
Thank you for sharing all of that, Laura. Like I'm like all teared here. Remembering that time when we first met and we had that call and talked about how coaching could help, and then having you be part of not just the one-on-ones, but group coaching that we've done together, and even the retreats. We were able to meet in person in one of the retreats I hosted, and I love how we get to see you now in a different light, and we work on different things, and then a different challenge comes up, and it's been a beautiful journey. I feel very privileged in having been able to take that with you and seeing you reframe some of those negative thoughts and see you just moving forward, like taking action. I remember when we first talked about the idea of obesity medicine, and now it's happening, and how you're bringing it into your institution as well, which has been amazing. So I just wanted to say that out loud, because it's like I feel my heart is like full of love right now with like seeing you here. I feel like proud, like a proud mama with you. And I know that's bizarre, but you know what I'm saying? Like as your coach, having been able to see this growth, and it's the work you've done, the tools that you've learned, and then the actions that you've taken. And I love how you said it's the ripple effect of how then you see that not just in your practice, but in your personal life. It's beautiful to hear.
And I love the part about the relationship with your family. And I wonder, what difference do you see with your own children and how you're showing up now that you are making, what did you call it? You talked about, it's like you're making more valuable time with your family. So you're not just showing up and checking a box or so exhausted. I would love to hear, maybe there's a story you could share about a moment with your kids or your family that wouldn't have happened had you not made some critical changes.
So now we have something, and the girls talk about it all the time, and they'll ask for it, but we'll have, I'll just spend time with, so I have two daughters there. Mia is 6 and Olivia is 3 years old. And they're amazing. And, but it was hard, right? Coming home and like, just like, there's so much things that we have to do. I have to get you guys ready for bed and all this stuff. And then on the weekends, it was like, I was so exhausted from the week that it was just like lounging around. So what I did was we started doing like Mommy and Mia Day and Mommy and Olivia Day. And, we would just do little things like if I had to like run to Target or something, I would just take one of them. And that was like our time. And they love it now. Like they'll ask for it. Like, when can we have Mommy and Mia Day? Or when are we going to do Mommy and Olivia Day? Because if I do one, obviously I have to do the other. But it's so special to just like have that time. And they ask for it now. They're like, hey, can we have Mommy and Mia Day? Or we'll have like let's have family night. And so on family night, again, it's silly little things, and it's maybe just we're just going to watch a movie that night, and we have a couple of big dogs, and we'll let them in. So on a Friday night or a Saturday night, instead of just like everybody's on, they're in their room, we're on their iPads, and we're on our phones. We're like, okay, we're going to spend this evening together. We're all going to decide on one movie. We let the dogs in, and that's like our time together. Like it's carved out time for us. And that's just been really special because like, and they realize it too, right? They know that like when we're all sitting down and we're all watching the movie, or, you know, we're going to the store together, like that is our time. So that's been really special. That I feel like before we didn't like make that, we didn't like carve that time out specifically. So that's been really special. I've really liked that.
Very intentional. I love it. Tons of presence.
And you've shared some of the ways that you've changed how you do medicine and do parenting. And as you know, our title of our podcast, Create Meaning in Medicine, Rewriting the Rules for Women Physicians. If there's a rule that you've rewritten in your life on this journey, I would love to hear what that is.
So I think for me, it's been about the community. So I feel like not doing it alone. I felt before a little bit isolated, you know, in the sense that like I was just focused on my work. I was just focused on like this and this. I think going through this process and not doing it alone is so important. Finding the community in coaching, finding other women physicians who are going through very similar things, it makes you feel like you're not alone, that there is support out there. You know, going to the retreat with Joanne and meeting all these physicians from like all across the country. And they all have, you know, their different stories, but we all can connect on a lot of similar things because we all go through a lot of similar things. So not doing it alone. You don't have to do it alone. There's a space, there's a community for you. And that's what's really, I think, helped give me a lot of like the courage to do some of the things that are, you know, quite scary. This pivot to obesity medicine wasn't like super easy either. You know, there was like a process to go through. And I think having like the support of other women was really special, really important. So that's one thing that I think I would say, like not doing it alone.
And how many times have we talked about community? And Joanne, she coined the saying, "It's community is non-negotiable," right?
Mm-hmm.
Women in our lives are non-negotiable, and we can put in the show notes links to. We've got at least one or two other episodes about the power of community, and I so appreciate you reinforcing that message for our listener, because it seems like so many women in medicine, they're so smart. They're so independent. They can do it. And yet when we do it together, it lightens the load.
I love this. Again, I can keep on going on and on how full my heart feels right now to have the opportunity to go back and really think of where you were before and where you are now, and all the work that you've done and the growth that you've done that has been very intentional and in community and in the coaching, and how you've said what you need out loud, how you've also asked your husband for help, that we don't always do things like that, and advocated for yourself at work, and so many things that I've seen you do, and you're like blossoming and shining so bright. So thank you. And I wanted to ask you, is there something that you would want our listener to know that we have not asked you yet?
Okay, so yeah, one thing I had forgotten to mention in this journey of like getting towards obesity medicine, like there was things you have to do, right? There's like boxes you have to check off. And one of them was I wanted to get board certified in obesity medicine. And to do that, you have to take a board certification exam. And this is something that I learned from coaching, is that, you know, I had to change my mindset of like who I saw myself as, right? So I always saw myself as a very poor test taker. Like I would say, you know, I'm a terrible test taker. And that's been like from forever. I've always been like very anxious about taking tests, and I can study and still like barely pass. And so I felt like it felt like a huge roadblock, right? I knew I wanted to do this, and I felt like I felt like getting my board certification, like that was a big stepping stone for me. I think it felt like that was a part to like get me to the point of where I am today. And so it felt like, if I can't do this, what's going to happen? And I remember working with Joanne on this and saying, like, I don't know if I can do this, because I feel like I'm just such a bad test taker. I'm going to fail. I had all those ideas and all those fears. And I worked with Joanne through that process. And I mean, nothing has changed, right? I still study for every exam that I take. And I can tell you that at the end, first of all, it was a very difficult exam. At the end of it, I ended up getting like something like the 94th percentile or something like this. And I was like floored, because what changed? It's not that I don't study for tests and I just show up, or that, I feel like I'm a physician. I've done a bunch of tests, and I'm telling myself, like, you're smart, you can do this. But when you're taking that test, like all of those insecurities come back at you. And so I worked really hard with Joanne during that process. And at the end, like feeling like, and now you're like 94th percentile or something like that on a very difficult exam, like that, I felt like sold me. I'm like, this is it. I mean, this was because of coaching, because it's not like I got a different brain. Like I did this on my own, but in a different way. I stepped into that exam room in a different way than I would have before the coaching. So just want to set that out there, that was like my defining moment of like coaching. I know that coaching works, of course, but that was like I can see it on paper.
And I'm just going to shine the light back on you, Laura. What a great story you're sharing. And yet you can spend a lot of time and money on coaching and take no action, right? The knowledge you did the work. You came up with new ideas, you came up with new mindsets, and you executed. And what an amazing story, that just with that mindset shift and believing in yourself is such an inspiration. And I'm sure that our listener wants to know more about you and would love to hear more from you. I would love to know, where else can we find you?
So right now I'm in South Georgia. That's where I practice. But if you want to hear more about obesity medicine and just nutrition and wellness, I do have a YouTube channel. It's called Movida Wellness. So please be sure to go find me on there.
And we will have that link in the show notes. It has been so incredible to hear your story, Dr. Laura. Thank you for sharing with us. And to our listener, I would highly recommend heading to Movida Wellness on YouTube and learn more from Dr. Laura. And stay tuned. We'll be right up with our next episode.
Do you want exclusive resources and the opportunity to connect with us? Then visit createmeaninginmedicine.com now, where you'll dive deeper into how you can create meaning in medicine. And if you're serious about optimizing your results, take 2 quick steps now. Connect with us on the website and tune in to the next episode.